Lads.
This is the Sheff United Way podcast with In Good Nick and Hal Stewart.
Lads, welcome to a new podcast. Hal, how are you doing, mate? And what did you think to that? Because I'd not showed you that before, had I?
I got a little bit emotional because I was at every single one of those games and watching that Brighton away one again. I mean, when so many blades had left, and then me and Statsman Adam were right at the front at the end when Sabs and the team went down the tunnel. They had to go past the away end of that awful stadium, and we were just going crazy because we were 2-0 down with what felt like minus minutes left, and Sabs came on and I think scored a hat trick. It was just one of the best away days of all time. I love seeing those clips again. Brilliant.
There's another one as well in there, isn't there? That's quite a big goal from Sabs.
Yeah, just a bit, and we'll get onto that, of course, and many other memorable moments from a wonderful striker.
Absolutely. So, do you want to introduce the man himself?
I really do. We are now welcoming a man for whom we, as supporters, have never had more chance. A firm fan's favourite from the minute he set foot on the Bramall Lane turf back in 2001. A masterstroke of a signing by Neil Warnock from Gillingham for a bargain £92,500. When the ball hits the goal, it's not Shearer or Cole. When we're beating the pigs, it's not Shearer or Giggs. It's Asaba. Carl Asaba, welcome to the Sheff United Way.
Hey, thank you for that. That's a great introduction. I think we peaked. That's it. We've already peaked.
Yeah. Shall we just end it now?
Yeah, that was it. Thank you very much, Carl. It's been great chatting with you, mate.
Brilliant.
What did you think seeing those goals back then, Sabs?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved them, especially the Norwich one, the Norwich away penalty. I tell people about that one because that was my first touch in that match. I came on as sub, as a shock, and we got a penalty almost immediately. And I saw the bench, and the gaffer's shaking his head. I thought, I'm having this, and it was in front of their cop, and they were all going crazy. And it's one of the times where I was actually proud of myself for having some balls, believing in myself. And it had about 52 bubbles before it went in.
Did you used to take the penalties in that day, or did Michael Brown? Because I've seen both of you taking them that season.
I think that the first and second season it was me, and then remember Brownie had the season where anything he did went in. He was shooting from everywhere and it was going in, and it was just, if he fancied it, let him have it because it was a goal. So you didn't argue with him that year.
No, he had the Midas touch, didn't he, that year? It was so good.
Incredible.
So shall we start from the very, very beginning? How did you get into football?
Just playing on Sundays from my school friends. Got me when I was about 11, 12, asked me to go and play with one of their teams. And it just went from there. I never got into a pro club. I was offered an apprenticeship. With West Ham, I was supposed to be. And I was selected for England schoolboys and got injured as a shock. The weekend before, I was going up to play against Scotland. And then my dad stopped me playing football for 2 years, made me go do my education. And then when I was 20 at university, I was lucky enough to be offered a contract at Brentford.
Brilliant. So where did you go from there then, from Brentford, and how did your time at Brentford go?
Brentford was great. It's Dave Webb who took a real chance on me. I was a skinny, quite fast player who had a chance, but he signed a lot of non-league players. Scattergun approach, sign 10 and hope one or two of them come off. But I was very weak-minded. I was out of university. I wasn't used to the hard knocks of life, and I'd get injured and I wouldn't play through injuries. And he had me go run up Richmond Park with a fractured, I had a hair fracture on my knee to toughen me up. And after about 18 months, he pulled me in his office because I was working, trying to do heading after training and improve this and improve that. And he said, look, you've got to focus on what you're really good at. He said, you're not the greatest at heading. So I see you doing an hour, 2 hours after training, you're going to get up to a 6 out of 10 heading. We can sign players who are 7 out of 10. You focus on this, your attributes, and make them to a level where other people can't get to. So I started training on a Tuesday and Thursday night in the evening on athletics track with Jenny Archer, MBE, and there was a lot of other pros, and just developed my physical side, because that was the key bit to me. I was strong, I was quick, but I weighed 12 and a half stone when I started. By the time I had a year with her, I was up to 14 and a half stone, quicker and harder to play against. So I believe that Dave Webb, if it wasn't for Dave Webb, I'd be nothing anyway, because he gave me a chance. He gave me the home truths I needed to be told. And he made me focus on my best abilities to make them as good as they can be and hopefully stand out against others, instead of being just another average headerer. Well, I couldn't even get that high. But it was down to him that I had half a chance.
Another way, of course, of putting on 2 stone is just a year of lockdown.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll do it.
This 2 stone that I put on was actually spread everywhere.
Right.
It looked like, yeah.
I can't imagine you ever not being as strong as an ox, because that's how I always saw you, quick and strong.
Are you sure it's Carl Asaba? It's not Wayne Allison.
Do you want me to leave, Nick? You to have a moment.
I had to make noises like an ox, but no, never as strong as.
I always thought you were really strong.
I was okay. I was okay. I was hard to beat. It was mainly because I was fast, and if you've got a bit of presence, then it makes them hard for you to be pushed off. But I was okay.
Yeah, and a big move as well. We're talking about size here. Well, it was a sizable sum, particularly in those days in 1997. How did you enjoy your time at Reading? It was the worst move for me to have made. It wasn't. My dad wasn't representing me. I got carried away the year before. I was a massive Crystal Palace fan. I was, I adored Ian Wright. I used to stand in the bushes watching them train. Everyone knew this. And there was a point in the season before that I was the leading goal scorer in England, not just in all the divisions. I started the house on fire. I had all the agents ringing, wanting to sign me. And then I got a call from Ian Wright. And that was that. The moment I spoke to him, I signed with his agents. And it wasn't the best thing for me. I was a lower league player. I was going to premieres with him and Ian Walker dressed. I was in a green velvet suit watching Jerry Maguire, and it just went wrong. It went wrong, and I believed the agent signed with this club. I didn't look into the club. I didn't know that they were full of players at a level above I was at, but it wasn't a team. They were individuals. They were older players doing what was best for them to get a new contract.
and I was hung out to dry. You know, I've been with my boys at Brentford. We were an actual unit, and we worked for each other. And for the first time, it was a job. I saw people seeing football as a job, and they were trying to get another year's contract, whereas I was only used to playing football, whether it was on the park for my Sunday team or my Saturday team or my borough, or that you're in it and you want to win, not as a team, not I want to do well for me to get myself a contract. And that's what it was at Reading. They were lovely, really great lads, but it was a team of individuals who were working for the next contract. And unfortunately for them, I was their record signing, who was young and naive. I was raw, and I needed to be in a similar, with similar players. And I was, I was supposed to be the goal scorer. I started well, and it didn't go well. It didn't go well. Unfortunately, the manager got sacked, and it was horrible. And I just needed to get back into an environment. And it was unfortunate. Reading had everything. They were spending the money. They were building a ground. They were trying. It was just, for me, the players that were there before were just they weren't good for as a team.
You mentioned a club record fee there. You signed for a club record when you then went to Gillingham, and things really clicked there. So tell us about that time, and also people will want to know about that game. Not great from your point of view, but that game against Manchester City in the playoff final, which I'm sure you get asked about all the time.
Oh, God. Well, Gillingham had loads of my former teammates, Robert Taylor, Paul Smith, Barry Ashby. They were there, and they'd been, we were all just great friends, and we kept in touch. And they knew I wasn't happy. So the manager had made an approach. Tommy Burns, who was the Reading manager, was just the loveliest man. And he was straightforward with me and just said, look, I want to bring in my own player. Well, he did. He brought in the 7 players on transfer deadline day. But he needed to make the books balance, and he needed to get me off the books. So he said, I'm not going to stand in your way. You can go. My dad spoke to Gillingham. And for me, I need to be, not made to feel special, but just in a cuddle. I was one that responded to a cuddle and belief than being shouted at and being told that if you do that, I'm in Michelle and I'm off ski. But Pulis wanted me. He really wanted me. He knew what I was about. And from the moment I walked in the Gillingham ground, I was made to feel special. And I tried my hardest, and I was with a group of lads that you had to try. Everyone can play terrible, but you're on the pitch as an 11 to win for your team, and you're representing your team. And if anyone dropped below that, you'd be shouted at. You wouldn't want to go in the dressing room because they'd have you up against the wall and they'd be screaming at you. And that's what I need. I needed to be a part of a group. And I loved it. From the moment I was there to the moment I left to come to Blades, it was great times. And the Man City match was just I hate Chairman City. I hate them so much. They obviously, and that's where I first met Brownie. I didn't like Brownie. He used to leave his foot in. Every time I play Man City, it's been horrible. For Blades, I got booked at Main Road. Stuart Pearce smashed me. I got booked for diving, whereas I was going on the stretcher, and he's wishing me all the best, nipping my arm, Stuart Pearce, and I knew I had to have an operation. So that was at Main Road. I hated that club.
And you got booked for diving when you needed an operation?
I needed an operation. I had I tore my meniscus from him smashing me. And he's wishing me all the best as I'm on the stretcher, and he's nipping. He gave me a blood blister on my arm. It was hilarious. Oh, God. If there is ever a terrorist attack at the Etihad, just come to arrest me, because it will have been me.
Oh, God, this is live as well.
Oh, God, it's all right. Sorry. I wouldn't do anything like that.
Yeah. The funny thing was as well, just before we started, you were saying that Man City were playing, and you said, I hate Man City, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together. But there's been a few things, obviously. So before you came to Sheffield United, who was the favourite club that you played for? You've obviously given us a few inklings there, but we'd like to hear from yourself.
Well, I loved it. I loved being at Brentford. I enjoyed my time. And obviously, I was playing football, so don't get me wrong. It wasn't that I hated things at Reading. I was their record signing. They were lovely to me. It just didn't click. But at Gillingham, what we're experiencing now in the lockdown is the effect the fans have on teams. And playing at Priestfield, some of the goals I've seen that I've scored, I wouldn't do that in training. I wouldn't shoot. I wouldn't try but because of the interaction with the fans and the confidence they give you, you'd try things. And some of the goals I scored at Priestfield, I couldn't do again in an empty ground. So I loved it there, and they were really supportive of me. It went really up, obviously, when I left them, and me being how I am, I never went on Soccer AM. I rarely did interviews or that sort of thing. They never heard from me. All they knew was they were turning up. The player who, the Gillingham fans really loved me, and they were lovely to me, and I loved it. But we had a match against Wimbledon, and all they heard was, well, Asaba refused to play, and then he's gone and signed for another team. And Asaba refused to sign for Crystal Palace, and there was all this. So poor Gills fans didn't have a clue, but I loved it there.
So what actually happened there before you came to the Blades at Gillingham?
Well, I was on the Bosnham. I'd done well, and to be fair, I've only just found my dad passed away many years ago, and I've just gone through last weekend one of his boxes, and it had a few of my contracts in, and my Gillingham contract was there, and I didn't even know I had a release clause. I had a £1.5 million release clause, which I didn't know about. I didn't even, my dad did the contract, and whatever he agreed. It wasn't like I was asking him for this, that, or the other. But I was supposed to. Peter Taylor had gone to Leicester, and he was my previous manager, and Addy was there, and they'd spent money, and it wasn't working. And I'd just come back from an injury, and there was talk I was going to be going with Roland Edge to Leicester. And that was the figure that was said, but it didn't happen, didn't materialise. But I was in the Bosnham that summer. So I think it was November, December where the Leicester thing came up. And then the following June, my contract was up. So the figure of £1.5 million, £1.25 million was what I was valued at, apparently, at the time. Then when it became apparent, well, Carl's not going to go anyway. He's not going to sign for another club. My supporting Crystal Palace was put in the mix. I'd scored a hat-trick against them. I scored another match against them, and then we played away. And after that match, we were supposed to be going to La Manga for a break before the FA Cup. And I was having a drugs test at Selhurst Park after the match, and the chairman came in, both chairmen. And Scully said, well, we've agreed to sell you to Palace. And I was a season ticket holder. My whole family supported Palace. So it was like, oh, my God, this is amazing. But I didn't actually understand, well, this is because you're in a Bosnham, Carl, and the only club they probably think you're going to sign for is Palace. And the figure of, I think it was 800,000 at the time, was unrealistic. Because why would Palace sign a player in January or February when for 800,000, when they had Clinton Morrison there, he was doing well. It was just like a setup. So whether the chairman had agreed something, I don't know, but I refused to go. I want to play as hard as I can. And that's when my dad was allowed to speak to other clubs because of the Bosnham. And he had a figure that he believed we could get because it was a Bosnham. And I was told, well, there's 4 clubs that have agreed in the summer you'll go to. And he loved Warnock. And I think it was Sheffield because we had the financial issues at the time. Sheffield weren't really able to pay transfer fees because it was everything. So apparently the figures weren't the same as 2 of the other clubs. It was the same as 1 of the clubs. But my dad said, well, you've got to make a decision and it's out of these. And I thought, well, I want to play for them. If he really wants me, I like this manager. I played at Bramall Lane before for Reading, and crap, I was scared. It was very loud. It was a Tuesday night, and I'd like to play there. It has the biggest crowd, and they have a battling mentality and a team ethic like I liked at Brentford and I liked at Gillingham. So when that was clear, Gillingham wanted, because the transfer deadline was coming up, and they said, well, they owed me some severance, not severance, like a loyalty bonus. And instead of me staying for another couple of months and them having to pay the bonus and me then going on a Bosnum for nothing, that's where the transfer fee of 92.5 came, that Carl will still get some money and the club. So it was basically poor Sheffield and Warnock never got the credit that they would deserve, but because they did push the boat out for me. They let me know that they really wanted to sign me, and everyone was always sort of saying, oh, well, bargain basement. But Blades, they did as much as I could have. Well, my dad could have asked, and he loved the chairman, Derek Dooley. And while the day I came up to sign, there was some final negotiations, financial, and I just went off with Mr. Dooley, and it was wonderful. And my dad said, "Well, come on, Dad, let's just sign. They want us to play with," and it was lovely.
That is great to hear, isn't it? I remember when you signed. Almost all Blades fans remember that 92,500 because it's such an unusual transfer figure. I remember I got the white away shirt as the Midas one. I went in the club shop and I said I want Asaba 9 on the back, and they were like, "We can't give you 9 because we don't know what squad number he's going to be." Yeah. So I had for like half a season Asaba blank on the back. On the back.
I mean, Warnock would have preferred it at the end.
But let's just talk a little bit about, of course, your time at beautiful downtown Bramall Lane. This is the 20th anniversary of Sheffield United's famous 2-1 win at Hillsborough. What are your memories of that derby day on the 1st of April 2001? You'd not long been with Sheffield United.
Well, the whole coming up to Sheffield was a big change for me in itself. I was actually integrating right into the middle of the club. You know, Reading, you're on the periphery. It's not really a city club. Gillingham, I was in and out. I was still living in Reading, commuting. And Brentford, it's just London, and they're everywhere now. Coming into Sheffield, where I was staying at Kenwood Hall for 6 months. I was there, so I'd go to the local shops and take my food back into my hotel room. And I've got people coming up to me saying, "Oh, make sure you don't lose." I'm like, all right, yeah, it's a matter. We don't try and look. And this was 2 weeks before. And I'm used to derbies. Brentford QPR for me is a derby. You know, that's it. Reading Swindon, they're not derbies. They're not, that's not okay. The next 6 months of these people's lives are going to be hell if you lose, because their mates are going to terrorize them. So don't you lose, because you're going to have 6 months of being shouted at by these people who you've let down. So the pressure became apparent, but nothing prepared me for, I played 3 matches at Wembley by then. I play a final, 3 or 2, I don't know. I played a lot at Wembley, play a final. So I'm used to big matches. The Man City, 80,000, driving in, used to it. Going from Bramall Lane over to Pigsville in the coach, my God, everywhere. Fans everywhere, the noises everywhere. You can't, the adrenaline's in the coach. You're burning up calories, just sitting, sweating, looking what's going on around you. Then you get into the ground, and it's quite hostile, and it's not the nicest in there. It's a great, huge venue, but the dressing room roof is bouncing. What's going on here? I've come to play football. I don't want my dressing room bouncing. This isn't normal stuff. Let me just concentrate. We've gone out, and it's not, the noise is like during a normal match, and it's still only a quarter full. And then you come out, and there's the balloons, and it's the most frenetic can't remember much of the match at all because it was just crazy. The noise was crazy, and they were a good team. You know, you got Carlton Palmer having a go at Darren Bullock, calling him a darts player. You know, it was like pantomime stuff. And you got the Builder, you got Gerald Sabon. My next door neighbour. I spent 4 months in the hotel with this car, always parked where I wanted to be. A beautiful left-hand drive Mercedes AMG, and it was their captain, Tron Solveld. You know, always there. He's on there, and he's a big player. Turns out I moved to my new house. He's my next door neighbour. You know, half the builders didn't want to work on my house because they were Sheffield Wednesday fans, and that's half of the beauty of being up here, that the derby caused, and seeing Trond after we won, it was just amazing. And he was devastated, of course, and it was just an incredible thing. I remember the screaming faces. That's it, just screaming faces, and it was the greatest day. I gave Warnock the biggest cuddle up when, you know, I thanked him for bringing me up here after that match. You know, I'm just so happy to be part of it. And then Simon Tracy caught me off guard, not knowing anything, and saying, "Oh, Subs, can I have your shirt for my testimonial?" Didn't think anything of it. Not that it's the 100th League Steel Derby and that's the winning shirt. Gave it to him. He's raffled it off, and I ended up having to buy it back 4 or 5 years later, 4 or 5 years into my retirement, because I was devastated that this piece of history, which I wore, has been sold to benefit the angriest, grumpiest old man in the world. Anyway,
we keep hearing that.
Oh, Trace, my God. The fact that he got money from my shirt for his testimonial griped me, but the fact I didn't have my own shirt, which is such a big part of, you know, for me, it's the best thing in my history, that my kids can know that their dad scored the winning goal in the 100th League Steel Dart is incredible for me. So yeah, getting that shirt back was a big thing.
You know, just listening to you, I'm getting goosebumps. You talking about Steel City Derby, because that's exactly how it feels to us, and it's great that the other players actually feel the same when they're getting ready for a derby, because we've had so many draws, so many 0-0s in the past, and you're like, oh, just come on, just win us this game so we can have bragging rights.
Well, the following year was myself and Ife Inura played up front, and I think we drew 0-0. But that day, I was terrible. You know, I missed everything. You name it, I was going to miss it. And it was my little brother's 17th birthday, and my family were up to watch the match, and then we were going out. Cancelled it. We didn't go out. No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not showing my face. We let them do. And it's that big. You don't want to get on with your life because you've let everyone down. So the players do get it. It is a real big thing.
Saying that you've let us down by drawings, that's nice here as well, because you definitely haven't let us down after a 0-0 draw. We've had enough of them. But I will tell you this: that game where you scored the winning goal, I was mascot that day. Wow. I was like the tallest mascot you'll ever see. I was nearly as big as Keith Curl, and he was trying to hold my hand, and I'm like, I'm all right, mate. I think what was I, about 13 at the time? So there was a little tiny girl who was the Wednesday mascot, and I was about the same size as Keith Curl. So you can imagine how embarrassed I felt. But
what a great thing.
Yeah, no, Nick, you shouldn't feel embarrassed. That is possibly the best game ever to have been mascot for.
Yeah, and I've already said this on a podcast before, so I apologise to anyone who already heard this story. I think it was Devs who I told. As I walked, obviously you then go off the pitch, everybody starts playing, and then we walked round the ground, and we walked past I don't know if it's the south side or it'd be one of the sides, and I got some right grief. I'm a 13-year-old kid, and because I was wearing the Sheffield United kit, my dad didn't get the grief. It was me that got the grief because I was wearing the red and white stripes.
Well, that's pigs for you. Disgraceful.
Pigs from Peterborough. We're going to clip that, by the way, aren't we, Hal? We're going to clip Sob saying that.
Yeah.
I returned there when about 4 years later. I was playing there for Millwall with Barry Hales up front, he scored the first, and then I scored another. I'd never score headers. I scored them for fun there, and I've run off doing the piggy noise and got booked, and it was the best booking I ever got. It was brilliant.
I remember that.
They were seething. They were just not. You could hear the oinks so hard. It was brilliant.
Did they give you some right grief in the lead up to that then?
Oh, proper. But it's they're all noise, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. But you've taken one of my questions already, because what I was going to say was that your favourite moment in your career, or your highlight of your career, that goal?
Probably, I enjoyed obviously the goal at Wembley against Man City. That should have been the highlight, to score a playoff final against them at a packed Wembley, but it was the start of just a nightmare for me. But to get that winner there, and the atmosphere was just incredible. And to be fair, the commentator hammers me saying, "No, it's not the best header." It was precision, probably the best header I've ever done, and it would never have gone in any other way. Yeah. So,
and actually, you had to get it right to beat Kevin Pressman, because he was always on 10 out of 10 against us. You had to put it exactly there.
It was great. It was great, weren't it, Hal? Great in those Steel City derbies.
Always, unfortunately, Pressman turned up against the Blades. Yeah, but actually, Ben Gregory's asked a question, so we'll have a quick look at some of the questions that have come through, which I think leads on nicely from what you've just said. I would like to ask Carl, what was his best goal in the whole of his career? So over to you, Sabs.
I think, my personal favourite was a goal for Gillingham at home against Luton in the rain, and I couldn't do it again. I slid. I beat the keeper who came rushing out of his goal, and I was a long way out, and I slid in, got the ball, and then managed to get to my feet and get straight back into my stride and kick the ball first time, and it flew into the net. Any other day, sliding's a problem for me, standing up's a problem for me, and kicking the ball, we all know it's hit and miss at best. But it all came together, so I think that's probably, it's definitely my best goal, and I could never do it again.
I'm just having a look at more of the comments here, actually. There's one that I've already referenced slightly, but Adam has said, I remember Brighton away and the hat-trick as sub in 2002 on return from a month out injured. What was Carl's favourite game, though, for Sheffield United, and who was his favourite strike partner as well?
That game was the Brighton. I had a bad back. That's when my back was starting to play up. And I didn't think I was even going to travel. But the gaffer said, well, come down and we'll see you be on the bench. And the goalkeeper, Kloipers, I'd spent some time at Lillishall with doing rehab. And he was really funny and it was a good lad. And the penalties, I actually took 3 penalties that day because one of them had to get retaken. And that was quite nervy. So I'm happy with that. I really like that. The best game for Blades was definitely Nottingham Forest at home, but by far, the result of the Wednesday away was great, but the best performance and the atmosphere was the playoff, the second leg playoff against Forest. It just can't be beat. I didn't score. I ran around like crazy, but the fans I did a tackle and I crapped myself because I thought, I must be getting sent off because the cheer from just sliding and chasing someone down, it was the greatest atmosphere. And Pesh doing his crazy goal and that was my favourite game. And I get goosebumps because I watched that one. Everything about that, I loved that. That was us.
We said to Pesh the same thing, didn't we, Hal? That it's our favourite game of all time because
really,
yeah. The atmosphere was unbelievable, and the thing was that season we knew that we could come back from anything, and obviously that's why the Wolves one was such a downer. But that Forest game, being 2-0 down and thinking we can still get back into this, you don't think that a lot, do you? Really?
I loved that, man, and. The players, you knew Pesh is just an incredible player. You got Cabs, who unfortunately, if he didn't have the injuries, he could have played for anyone. He was incredible. He was like a different sport, but any given Sunday, Willie Beeman. That's how I felt with that game, because it was like being the old striker and you're watching someone who's younger, who can do anything. And in training, some of the things he used to do to defenders were horrific. He was just incredible. And you knew you had Dean Windass, who could score. He's a great player. He's like a pantomime footballer because he'd get the fans involved. But the ability he had, you had Brownie, Tongy. How many careers Tongy must have ended that season with his, the Millwall boy. I've never seen anyone be terrorised. He's get well cards after Tongy did him at home.
On the left-hand side,
with deeper sympathy, Michael Tong. But we had brilliant players all round, so there was no doubts in our mind we could beat Forest, and maybe that was our problem, that we believed in each other too much, that we thought we'd already beaten Wolves, because Wolves weren't anywhere near us on our day, but on their day, on the day when it mattered, they all turned up, and one or two of us did, anywhere near what we could. So it was a real shame.
I've got a question for you. That season, obviously, you've just gone through a few of the strikers that we had. You Windass, obviously, Chief, Wade Allison, Pesh, Cabs. Who was your favourite player to play up front with that season?
That's it. Anyone. You're just happy to get on the pitch in that team. You've listed the strikers. You can easily miss out from the squad, and that was one of the strengths, that you had to perform. You had Dean storming to the gaffer that he wanted to play in the final, so you knew you had to give your best, because these players aren't happy to be subs and not play you. They were all good enough. I love playing with Pesh because he's just the cleverest footballer. There was a goal away at West Brom, which is his old club, where he went through the whole team, and I'm watching, basically clapping, and he's done this chip, and I'm still clapping, and it's hit the ball, and I'm thinking, oh Christ, I've got to do something here. And 5 yards, I was so nervous, because I'm thinking, if I don't score this after what Pesh has just done, it was just, you were inspired to play as well as you could because the players around you. So all the I won't say anyone's I preferred. I was just happy to be on the pitch as one of them. Lauren Sufo was at Barcelona, for Christ's sake. These people, they're all brilliant players.
I'll tell you, Patrick Sufo is not only one of the nicest people. Nick and I had no idea when we spoke to him how much he loved Sheffield United, and he played for a lot of clubs, and he now holds the Blades in such high regard. When we release that podcast, I don't want to give too much away. He is still doing something to this day that is related to his love of the Blades, but we can't say what it is. But we had no idea that he'd taken us to his heart so much, and he says that Sheffield United are his club. Well,
that's good, because the 1st of April, which is the anniversary of the 20th, hopefully, because I'm doing this thing for the Children's Hospital charity, that I'm trying to be announced on the 1st of April, and it's going to involve, hopefully, Sufo as well, a lot of the team that won at Pigsville, and it's going to hopefully entice a lot of Blades fans to get involved to raise money for such a good cause. So I hope Patrick can come over and help with this.
Well, we will love to help support that and promote it on our channel. So do keep us updated. We will do our very best with that. Lee Booth has asked a great question. I can picture a few answers here. Who was the toughest opponent in training for the Blades, the one to avoid, and why?
There was a young lad called Ben Doan whose career finished, really a real shame, young injured lad. But he was so hard to play against. He was tenacious. He didn't know when he was beat, and he, just dogged. So I'd prefer to play against Pagey or Murph in training, because they weren't. There was a saying about midweek internationals. There were a lot of players who were great when there's no fans there. Like the football nowadays, I couldn't really do very well. Not that I did great back then, but I responded to fans, and there was a lot of players. We had a striker called Lawrence Tens Hoyville, came from Holland. I think it was Go Ahead Eagles. Scored like 400.
Striker is a very generous term as well.
Well, he scored about 400 goals in 8 games, when he was over there. And in training, no one would take him on in shooting because he was like a sniper. He was incredible. But then you put him in front of 30,000. The midweek international term was perfect towards him. No offense to him, he's technically brilliant, lovely guy, but he never the one he had a great free kick and it hit the crossbar and I scored from a yard out and he didn't even get the acclaim for that. I nicked that and it was off of you. But it was one of those that I don't even know what to say now. I just lost myself a bit.
Well, I'll tell you what, while you're thinking, right, you've reminded me. I was in the West Brom end when you scored that goal, which came back off the bar from Pesh, and you just nodded it in. I was at uni with a West Brom fan. He took me next to him in his season ticket seat, and I have never had to sit on my hands. It was in the last minute, and we won it, thanks to you. And I couldn't cheer because I was surrounded by all the Baggies nutters. And I could just watch. They are nutters. And I could just watch all the Blades fans.
What a run!
He deserved the goal.
Incredible player, that boy. So good.
What about this one from Lisa, who says, I think we know the answer to this, but what would be the best practical joke you would play on another player? We know that there was a practical joker in the squad by the name of Rob Kozluk, but did you ever have any practical jokes you'd maybe try and get him back or anything you do to him?
Squeaky clean, mate. Squeaky clean. Did nothing to no one. Went in. Worked hard, went home. That was it. I'm not getting involved in this because Cozzy will retaliate. I've said this to you. I wanted to sign an agreement where there's no retaliation with Coz. But no, there was lots of practical jokes. It was great to turn up. You get there early just to hear people being destroyed.
Yeah, we heard some of that from Wayne Quinn and Pesh as well, didn't we, Hal?
Yeah, I've actually as well. A few people on Twitter were saying that there was someone who went to watch training and you chased Kozluk around the training ground because he was singing the Asaba song and you misunderstood the lyrics. He was apparently not having a go at you. Is that true?
No. Well, there was another one where I had a lot of very, very dodgy outfits. When I signed, the day I signed, I went to the training ground. I had to go and say hello to the lads, and they were in the middle of training. I'm just dressed normal. Trace did a rugby tackle, took me out into the mud. So that was my introduction. Had to just take it on the chin. Then one day, I was injured. There's a shot. I've gone out on a bike ride. I've come back, and everyone stood just crying with Ned. Kells was in goal, diving here, diving there. And I thought, what's the fun? He's not a bad keeper. So, hang on. What top's he wearing? He's in goal, diving in the mud in my white bloody string vest that I turned up in. So I don't know if I actually did many practical jokes, but I did endure quite a lot.
Was that David Kelly?
Yeah, Ned, David Kelly.
Yeah. I've got another one for you. How about then? You were mates in the dressing room during the time at Bramall Lane, as you've already mentioned, with a few different players. But if you had to maybe pin it down to say who your best buddies were during your time at Bramall Lane, who would you list?
Pagey. I was really close with Pagey because we were like frenemies. We always wanted to beat each other, whatever. So we partnered up for all the running drills. But I was really close with Monty, Jags, and Tongy. They were come on, Southampton. Sorry.
We get a running commentary.
Yeah, that's 5-2. It's long gone. But Jags, Tongy, and Mont, they took me under their wings. The young lads. I was taken under wings by young kids. When after training, used to go and play Xbox with them, and used to love watching. If Jags lost at anything, watching him sulk was priceless. But me and Mont did weights a lot, and he used to call me weakness, and it was just non-stop. Me and Mont in the gym, just challenging each other. He's a really lovely guy. So there's Pagey, Mont, Jags, and Tongy, I'd say.
What about Neil Warnock then? How did you get on with him?
I loved him. He moved. He did all he could to get me there, and he made you feel, 100 foot tall. You weren't there by chance. He believed in you, and he'd let you know what your good points are. If you played well, he'd tell you played well. If he told you, you will have seen the documentaries on the walls and the beratings. If he did that to you, it's because you deserved it. He only wanted to win. He didn't. If you won, he didn't shout at you, so it was nothing personal. And it's better that he did that and he got it out in the open, and instead of being one of these managers who smiles to your face and then goes to the board calling you this or to the papers. He was with you 100%. And if you did what he wanted and tried your hardest, everyone can play badly, but just give him all you got, and that's all he asked from me. And he was wonderful. I think the world of him.
Nick,
funny.
I was just thinking.
No, I'm not going to do it.
No. You know what I'm thinking, because Sab's just said it. Warnock gets things out in the open. We heard he got quite a few things out in the open, according to a few players. With his,
I don't know. I don't know anything about that.
I don't know anything about it. Right, it's a PG channel. Fair enough.
Yes.
So, listening to you say that, was Neil Warnock your favourite manager to work for?
I thought the world of him, but Pulis was definitely my manager. He signed me twice. He came round when he was at Sheffield Wednesday. I got a knock on the door, and it was him. My dog had died about a week before, and to see I was welling up because I hadn't seen him for maybe 10 years, and he's such an important part of my football career and my life, because Tony and his wife and his children, it's not just turn up on a match day and play your game and then go your separate ways. They take interest in you. They ring you up when you have children. Not that I have like 50 children, I'm having them every week, but when you have a child, they take interest, and they ask how you're doing. He was close with my dad. He was so when my dad passed away. And just to see him, it meant the world to me. So definitely Pulis. He gave me such a kickstart and rebelief at Gillingham, and then wherever I was, he'd speak to the managers and let them know. He spoke to Warnock. Warnock knew about me. Just a great guy. And the best thing is, it's such a loss for Sheffield Wednesday to let him go. I obviously hope Darren Moore does really well, but Sheffield Wednesday definitely had a manager in their midst that would have got them back up to the Premiership. And for whatever reason, I feel sorry for the fans, because I know so many, and they just want their team to do well, but they've let a good one go there.
Yeah, it's a real shame. You said Alexander would ask a question. So Alexander Asaba, worst ref decision against you, Carl?
Uriah Sheffield, and he's an ambassador for the Children's Hospital charity, so that's going to be fun when I meet him again. I got sent off for Brentford in a playoff semi-final away at Bristol City. Was that what? I think he sent me off twice, actually. I got sent off for fighting with Danny. I just think Uriah didn't like me. I think he didn't like me at all. So any decision by Uriah was bad. Mark Halsley giving 5 or 6 minutes extra time against Man City, terrible. But I saw him in top league about 4 years ago, and he went ashen. When he saw me, he went, I was like, all right, Mark, no, I'm not going to, get put in prison for things that have long gone. But you were wrong, Mark. You were no. So there's been a lot of bad decisions against me.
Is Uriah a Sheffield United fan? Does he have an allegiance? Do you know?
I don't know. I'll find out. I'll be terrorising him. I'll know his national insurance number when we're through. Don't worry. He's getting a Jack Bauer interrogation.
Why did you leave the Blades then for Stoke in 2003? Because as I already mentioned, you were very popular with the Bramall Lane faithful, so we didn't want you to go.
I think the gaffer wanted to change. I was getting injured a lot. The morning of the Liverpool, the first leg, we were at Shire Cliff for the training and to go through the set pieces, and I bent over to put my sock on, and my back went, and I've gone to the physio, and I had to have injections, and I came off at half time. But that was the start of the end of my career. And I kept pulling muscles, and it was all from my back. And that was the very first time I did it before the Liverpool match. And we had a good go that year. And whether he blamed me for not, fulfilling things on the final match, or he just wanted to change. I know he brought in Ashley Ward, who was a bigger name, and he was a stronger player, and he fitted in more to what the gaffer wanted. And you've got to respect that. The man wanted me there, and for him to not want me there near the end was, that's enough. They wanted to change, and they let me go to Tony, which he couldn't do any more for me.
Yeah, but Ashley Wood wasn't strong like an ox like you, though, was he?
You're really going on about this strength thing, Nick.
You really, yeah. Thank you. I'm really happy with this. But he was perceived as a step, but he was a Premiership player coming down who should do well, and that was it. There was a lot of really, really good strikers who've come after me who've done so well, but the fans have always held me in such high regard. So I'm really thankful. You've got the people like James Beattie. I think, if anything, I was probably the anchor that was holding the Blades down in the Championship. The moment they cut me loose, they soared. Brilliant. It was like helium balloons just being allowed to go and go.
Hardly. Subs, did you know, though? Did you know all the songs? Like the one that I sort of joked about at the start of the intro. Did you have any inkling that there was all these songs about you?
I knew the Amore one. I went to a school over towards Crystal Peaks. I went to go and give a little talk, as you do in the afternoons. You go here, you go there. And I've gone in, and the school, the kids are all sat in the gym area for an assembly, and they sang this song to me. It's like I couldn't believe it. It was just so amazing. And now I'm not a big goer outer. I've been in Sheffield for 20 years, and I don't go out much. So if Blades see me out on a night out, I get serenaded in the toilet. There's no chance going out trying to meet people when, where's that? Like, is that guy being sung to who you were talking? Is he being sung to by other? It doesn't go down well. But the Blades fans are just so lovely to me, and the songs are brilliant, and I'm just very lucky.
Do you remember that? I can't say it on this channel, but when the ball hits the net like a chuffing rocket, which is a terrible rhyme. It's Asaba. When we're beating the pigs, it's not Shearer or Giggs, it's Asaba. When the ball hits the goal, it's not Shearer or Cole, it's Asaba. There was more. It's incredible. Brilliant. I've never seen another player have so many different songs. Like Nick and I often say, we've got a favourite now, Chris Basham, and we don't have a single song for him.
Oh wow! Oh, it's really just thank you. I can't go. There's no really. It should be other players. I'm just brilliant. Thank you.
To be honest, we've had quite a few players on these podcasts up to now, and you're the first player that we've had on that's actually scored in a Steel City derby. So yeah, that's
well.
Quite
You
nice.
should try to get Addy on. I'll be seeing Addy in a few weeks, and he scored a hell of a goal.
He scored a hell of a goal.
Have you not tried Tongy? Tongy as well. Have you seen him trying to look like one of the wildlings now with his beard? Tongy. He looks like the Ginger Wild Walker.
Subs, I mean, if you've been honest, if we had a choice between Akinbaye or Michael Tong, we're going with Tongy.
Don't say that. It can get Addy Akinbaye as well.
No, Addy is the world's loveliest guy. He's shy, and you need him on because what hasn't happened in his career and the insight he could give, And as I say, he made me obsolete.
When he moved out to America, he moved his whole life out to, I think it was Houston. I was reading about it. He took everything, his car and everything, and then he hated it. And then he just tried to get everything back, which was apparently a massive
hassle. Was it VB Stuttgart? One of the big German teams were trying. He's been to some great clubs. He's had some great moves. He had a great, and he did well for Blades. He scored some great goals.
Just going back to what you were saying before, you said about going to somewhere near Crystal Peaks. What was that school? Because I went to a school round Crystal Peaks. I just
I
wanted to know.
haven't got a clue. If I knew, I'd be on the kiddie register, wouldn't I? If I'm remembering scores even now. Jeez,
All right, I'll let you off.
me.
I'll let you off with that one.
Oh.
I weren't trying to bait you there, I promise.
Wow, that just happened.
Yeah.
So you said about fans coming up to you and serenading you and stuff. Do you still get that kind of like in the street? Just people coming up to you and
Everyone's
saying
lovely. Well, I don't go out that much. Around where I am, everyone, it's just normal. But when the people are lovely, the Blades fans are always lovely, and they're always just, I really am thankful because I played football and I was lucky enough to play for the club, and the people acknowledged that I tried. Not that I was great, it was just that I tried, and that's really lovely for me as a person, and it makes me proud for my kids to see that. Well, this is it. It's effort that you're being acknowledged for effort. Not that I was brilliant, as I say. Ashley Ward, James B. These people were better footballers, but my club and my fans acknowledged that I gave everything, and that means so much to me.
Well, the big question, Sabs, you said you're a Crystal Palace fan and all your family supported Palace.
Was a
well,
Palace
this is
fan.
it. This is it. So do you now have an affinity and an affection for the Blades? You look out for the results, and also your family and your children. Have you sort of said, look, let's keep an eye on Sheffield United?
Well, of course. And I don't go that much. I go now and then. I love it there, and whenever I'm there, the fans always make me feel really special. I love seeing TC. I go and see Tony Curry. Both my boys are Blades fans. My eldest boy, Alexander, is a lunatic fan in that I watched the other week with him, and he's throwing things. He's blaming this person. He's not trying. He's a proper cut him. He's red and white. Christian definitely he's already ready to buy Stone Island. He's there. He is going to be a proper boy.
As strong as his dad, as Nick keeps going on.
Well, no, he's going to be. He's not going to be one of these cosmetic strong oxes. He's going to be He's got a bit of menace about him. This one.
Terrifying. Yeah. So that's brilliant to hear. So do you then keep a little eye on Sheffield United as you do, I imagine, with all your former clubs, maybe with the exception of Reading?
No, I do. I really Blades. I keep a strong. I love watching whenever they're on, and I'm upset with how this season's gone. But I do genuinely believe that it's a lot to do with COVID. Same with, you don't go away to Old Trafford and beat Man U easily because there's 70,000 people screaming. These football matches are not representative. They're great. They've got good footballers playing good football, but put under the strenuous shouting and the anticipation and the demands that fans put on you, it's completely different. You've got strikers who have come from the Championship, who, like Ollie Watkins at Aston Villa, has done incredible, but he's not having to deal with the Premiership crowd and the Premiership pace because the matches are dying out now after about 70 minutes because the fans aren't there to keep the boys' tempo up. And I think that's the main thing that's gone against the Blades is the Bramall Lane factor. I don't know what the Forest result would have been. It wouldn't have been the same if we played behind closed doors because the tempo wouldn't have been there. The passion wouldn't have been there. So it's a shame what's happened this year. I think last year, the dizzy heights that happened, we got a bit carried away with ourselves, and we were believing, we could be pushing for Europe. This has been a complete opposite where we've been utterly let down in that the results just haven't come. Everyone's trying just as hard, but you haven't got Leicester. Leicester haven't got the Bramall Lane passion. The Aston Villa, they have, but there's so many teams that are getting away with having empty ground atmospheres. Next year, when the fans are back, if we don't win the league, I'll be surprised. And then it's just as long as we can keep the players. Don't think that we've come out of the Premiership, we've got to sell. So these players are great players. But Burnley scored bags before. Bogle will score goals. These not Bogle. Brewster will score goals. It's just a case of let's get the fans back in. Let's believe in what Wilder's done because he's incredible, and it will all come good again. Just stick with what we've done. Don't start changing much, and believe in the boys, and let the fans take us on again.
The only ground where the atmosphere has actually improved during lockdown has probably been West Ham.
Okay, and I'd say probably Man City.
I thought you
really do hate Manchester City. I love that.
Oh, Chairman City, you mean Chairman City? Yeah.
So you end up settling in Sheffield. Was it just timing that you kind of settled in Sheffield because of your kids and stuff?
No, I love Sheffield. No, it's not because of me. That Sheffield has got the worst tourist board. That's what surprised me when I came up here, because I didn't expect it to be anywhere near what it is. I hate actually thinking that I wouldn't have come here, because I would never have known how incredible it is. Now I hate leaving Sheffield. I hate going back down to London. I love to see my family, but this is me now. We've got everything we need here. And it's just the Sheffield Tourist Board doesn't want anyone else to know, and good for them. Keep everyone else out.
All you need, but Henderson's relish, and you're sorted. And actually, it's amazing, Sabs, how many players play for the Blades and end up settling in Sheffield.
But it's not even the Blades; it's just people in general from London and around. That you can't. The people who come to the university, they stay here because it's a great place. So we need the teams doing well. It's a good thing for the locals, and yeah, happy days.
Yeah, we can thank Sheffield University for me being in existence, where my dad met my mum, my dad then went to watch the Blades, and here I am.
Information, really, a bit too much information.
Sorry, Sabs. I'll tell you what, I do have another question for you, which is, what are you up to at the moment?
Well, I'm just helping the kids get through lockdown. I've got a few things that I'm working on. There's an app that we're doing. I source cars for clients, and just a few things. Just keep my head down and get from Monday to Sunday. You
better have called it Carl Asaba.
No, I haven't.
A missed opportunity, mate.
It's a good one. It's a good, but no.
You definitely like your cars as well, don't you, Sabs?
I love cars. Yeah, that was another practical joke that happened. I don't know who did it, but I probably traced that. After training, I've gone in I had a new car, and two of the bins were on the front seat from the training ground. Just my car. I love cars. The boys knew that, and and the fans did as well, because I had an Asaba number plate, my dad's number plate. And that was good. The fans they were lovely with that. The old car. I
remember always spotting that in the club car park as well. So it was very easy to spot.
It's over at the Supercar Centre now, having a full restoration. You know, it's over in Attercliffe, getting a new lease of life.
You don't want a new lease of life at Attercliffe, Sabs.
Hey, 3D.
Well, Nick, I think we've had so many good questions for you, Sabs. Nick, have you got any final question, please, buddy?
No. I think that's it. I think we've gone through everything.
We've covered a lot of great ground there with you, Sabs. You've been an absolute pleasure to speak to. Thank you for giving up an hour of your time. Top man. We really, really appreciate it, and I love hearing how passionate you still are about the Red and White Wizard. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sabs.